I'm of the mindset that I appreciate the protest. I appreciate the young warriors on the front line fighting on behalf of themselves and us, all of us in our community, and obviously a lot of white folks in America who have joined them and have given a voice to the situation in ways that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime. I want to applaud everybody for that. But it's not just about protesting. It's not just about making noise. It's about making sure that actionable things actually transpire. To me, if there is a complaint, and obviously a valid one, on the part of some police officers in the level of brutality that they have exercised in fatally shooting unarmed black men, I believe it should become a federal hate crime for an unarmed black man to be shot by a police officer. I'd like to see that kind of legislation pushed through Capitol Hill and made into law. That's number one. Number two, I'd like to see an abundance of these professional athletes in concert with coaches, executives, owners, commissioners, work in concert with lobbyists to address those issues as well. And more importantly than that, or just as important, I'd like to see them address numerous corporations throughout the United States of America that have benefited exponentially off of the backs of black people patronizing their product, and to really inquire and probe deeply into exactly what have they done for the black community and see what more should be done and what more can be done, and work in concert with those companies to make sure and to ensure that those kind of things happening. Because the people that are in the streets, they ain't just complaining about police brutality. They're complaining about systemic racism. That means corporate America and some of the trials and tribulations, the unfair practices, the prejudices that are exercised in corporate America under the cloak of business and things of that nature. People are scratching and clawing their way uphill, constantly fighting behind the eight ball. And because of that, that elevates the level of frustration and angst and ire that they simply had to vent and let go of, or not let go of, but to really let out, so they can understand that the world hears them. And I think this will go a long way towards doing just that. Capitol Hill legislation, along with businesses that patronize the black community, or the black community that patronizes some of these businesses, making sure that they're doing their part in helping to uplift our communities throughout the United States of America. These are the things that can be done, and these are the things that should be done.
Well, look, the flashpoint for all of this was law enforcement's interactions with communities of color, or to put it in plain English, police brutality toward black people. And so if you want a narrow answer, then you have to reform police unions, and that should be the focus of a lot of these efforts, because those unions, as it was recently reported in the last several days, I believe it was in The Guardian and some other places, those unions spend tens of millions of dollars in the largest cities in America resisting reforms. And there's been a lot of reporting on police unions, and they need to be reformed. So that would go a long way towards addressing things like having statutes where if you turn off a body camera, it's destruction of evidence automatically, stuff like that. That's the kind of narrow answer in terms of specific policy areas where the focus should be. The broader answer, Stephen A. and Jay, and I'm just going to leave it at this because it's too big a topic for this show. But since we're being asked, the broader answer is reparations. There should be reparations in this country. That's what affirmative action tries to address. That's what a lot of policies have tried to address and are resisted in different quarters. Unless you believe that black people are intrinsically inferior at making money, for example, then you have to acknowledge that the reason they are socioeconomically disadvantaged as a group goes back to our country's original sin, but has persisted through intentional political policy. As I've explained, the most heinous government in the history of the planet Earth, the Nazi regime, studied American legal history in terms of how to disenfranchise legally members of your own population in order to make them the other. That has been going on toward black people since the inception of this country, through the transatlantic slave trade, the Middle Passage, the antebellum South, slavery, obviously, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, and so on. And to never address the issue, because there was a crime committed, To never address the issue of reparations is to not actually address the problem. That is far too large a topic to tackle here, but since you asked.